Hey kid, come here. You wanna get filthy? Well, good.
Because today we are going to check out the new 51 Filthy high gain preamp pedal from Eris Effects. Or should I say,
Eris Effects. Let's do it.
Alright guys, hope you're having a great day out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, you wouldn't know that I'm mixing it up by pointing at a different camera right now. My name is Kyle and welcome to Belligerent Studios. What I do here is I take all sorts of awesome high gain related guitar equipment, I record it with a simple setup, and I give you the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into Eastender thrash riffs, dropsy hardcore riffs, and dudes that don't have the right lens for the shot, so it's kind of creeping into the
camera angle?
You're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on your way out so you don't miss any more of my stuff.
Thanks!
Alright guys, so as I mentioned in the beginning, the very cringe intro of this video, we are checking out a new high gain preamp pedal from my friends over at Eris Effects, and that is the 51 Filthy. I'll give you 3 guesses to guess what this pedal is based on, and you're going to need 0 of them because you, my friend, are not a moron, despite what your family, friends, teachers, and local community say about you. I don't know why I'm still holding hot dog hand here. So yeah, 51 Filthy, self-explanatory, it's literally right in the name. This is a preamp that aims to get that classic 5150 preamp sound, and I will be 100% honest with you guys, I plugged this in not expecting too much because I've played every 5150 on the market and there are tons of 5150 pedals out there. It's a sound that I love, but it's not a sound that really gets me all that excited anymore. And with everything at noon, I hit a chord and I immediately smiled. I knew that this thing had a little bit something different to it. And as I continued to kind of tweak my knobs a little bit, that feeling was solidified. So you're probably asking, what's special about this pedal? What does this pedal do that a million other 5150 pedals don't do? Well, in my personal opinion, it really nails the 5150 sound with everything at noon, but it actually does a couple things better than the regular 5150. I know that's a bold claim, but you guys heard it in the intro. I am not boosting this pedal whatsoever. That was 100% the pedal going into the power amp of my 6505 Plus here. And not only does it do a really, really good job of pulling off that 5150 sound, but it's actually tighter and punchier and a little bit clearer than the stock preamp of a 5150. And for me, that has always been, those have always been the attributes that I wish that the 5150 had a little bit more of. I wish it was a little clearer. I wish it was a little tighter and punchier on its own. That is only if I am not boosting it, because it takes boost super well, which we'll actually explore with this pedal as well, but frankly, it doesn't really need it. And that clarity that this pedal has is just, it's better than a regular 5150. Like, I know I'm gushing about this thing right now. You guys will see why as we go through in the video, but I am really impressed. I think Richard did an absolutely phenomenal job with this pedal. And honestly, pedals that are this good, products that are this good, make my job a lot more easy and a lot more fun. So thanks, Richard! I'm posting this video on the day of my birthday, February 7th, and this is a nice little birthday present. And it's distracting me from the fact that I am turning 37 and I am no longer useful to society because I am an old bag of garbage. So I've basically explained the pedal to you at this point. There's not much more to it. The one thing that is very, very important though is the EQ controls do not function like the EQ controls on the amp, which I actually think is a good thing in the case of this pedal because they have way more flexibility. Like I said, I plugged it in, I put everything at noon, and got that classic 5150 sound, turned the gain up to get the saturation as if I were boosting it. But with that being said, the mid control, very importantly, functions more as like a shape control on the pedal than it does as the standard mid control on a 5150, which, as you guys know, the EQ controls on a standard 5150 6505 amp do basically next to nothing, but with this pedal, we can actually pull off a lot more. So we're gonna get into all that in just a second, but I do need to let you guys know This is a sponsored video in the sake of full transparency. Not only did Aris Effects send the pedal to me to make this demo, they're paying me for the demo, and I am actually an Aris Effects affiliate. So you guys are more than fair to take everything that I have said, everything that I will say with a grain of salt. I don't blame you. It's a dirty, dirty world out there, but my longtime viewers will know that I will give you my honest thoughts and opinions, as I always do. So try to keep that in mind. And longtime viewers will also know that this is an old staple from the beginning of the channel. This is my old 91 Gibson Explorer with the 500T in the bridge. This is actually the guitar that I basically launched my channel with. It has been out of commission for some time, and I finally got it working again, and I'm super happy to play it. So we're gonna play one more riff on this, but then we're gonna check out PAF pickup, a couple active pickups, a couple down-tuned guitars, and then I'm going to put this pedal through a solid-state power amp, and then lastly, we're gonna plug it directly into my interface to see how it functions through a number of different power amp options. I almost said opportunity. But as for that intro tone, and as for what we're gonna stick with for the beginning tones in this video, the pedal is currently going into the power section of the 6505 Plus, which is going into my 1999 Mesa traditional cab. This is being mic'd by an SE Electronics V7 dynamic microphone. There will be no post-processing on any of the audio that you guys hear in this video. Here's a little refresher of that intro tone. Dude, this thing is incredibly punchy on its own without an overdrive. I really am a huge fan of how it sounds. That is a lot of fun to play. The punchiness, the percussiveness of this pedal, absolutely incredible. As I'm sure you guys have figured out, I'm still sick weeks later here, so bear with me. But yeah, incredibly easy to play, very responsive, very punchy. Real quick, I want to show you that mid control and how much it does actually change the voicing of this pedal overall. So as you can tell, that mid control does way more than any mid control on any other 5150 amplifier that has ever existed. So I'm gonna pull it back, but we are actually gonna check this out with a PAF because Richard actually noted in his description of the pedal that this thing can actually do some pretty good low gain tones. So we're gonna try that, even though it's losery-ish stuff, real quick, for science. All right, guys, I have my Epiphone Thunder Horse here with the burst bucker in the bridge. I have the pedal dialed, as you guys see here. Here's a little low gain action. So as you can see, that really bright, chimey, and kind of like thinner cranked plexi tone, you know, in that neighborhood anyways, it can definitely do it way more than a regular 5150 could. One thing I am noting though is even with the gain pulled back, it still seems to have a lot of compression and sustain, so it's not going to be totally like an old school Marshall or anything when you're trying to go for those classic tones, but can definitely pull it off better than a 5150 ever could, at least in my opinion. So let's go ahead, let's turn up that gain a little bit, let's get into a little bit more higher gain territory. All right, right, guys, so as you can see, PAF pickups, this is a very, very bright, very thin sounding guitar, as you guys will see in just a minute when I switch to an active loaded guitar. So keep that in mind when we're talking about what we're talking about here, which is that even with a bright, thin sounding guitar with very low output pickups, it still gets into the high gain territory quite easily. We can actually pull down the mids, we can pull up the gain and pull up the bass. And we can actually thicken this pedal up significantly. This is the brightest guitar I own by far. And as you can see, the pedal thickened right up by pulling the mids back, essentially shaping the pedal and dialing the lows and the gain up. All right, so nice and thick, darkened up quite a bit, plenty of gain on tap, plenty of low end on tap with this pedal. But now let's see how it responds to some active pickups. All right, guys, so I have my Schecter Hellraiser Extreme here, EMG 81 in the bridge. The pedal is dialed in, as you see here, obviously significantly differently than we had it dialed in with the PAFs. So we'll play a riff with this guitar and switch over to a Fishman Fluence Modern loaded guitar so you guys can see how those two active pickups compare and contrast. All right, interesting. So on this one, I actually was liking how the Fishman Fluence were reacting with this pedal a little bit more than I normally do. For some reason, the pedal just opened up a little bit more with the Fluence than it did with the EMG 81, which sounded a little flatter, more compressed, sounded really gained out, and not a lot of low end on the EMG, but the low end and the punchiness and the percussiveness of this guitar and the Fishman Fluence really came through. So it reacted a lot differently than I was expecting to the different active pickups, which goes to show that different pickups will have a good effect, or at least a very noticeable effect with this pedal. Drop tune! Dude, that may be my favorite new pedal for drop C hardcore riffs. That was thick, it was nasty, but it also had clarity to it. The low end was ridiculously punchy again. We haven't used an overdrive for this entire video. That was awesome. That was a lot of fun. But I do actually want to try this thing with an overdrive now because we haven't done that yet. So I'm actually gonna kick in the Aris FX Savage Drive, which if you guys are unfamiliar, extremely popular overdrive in the heavy guitar community because it's essentially a mostly transparent drive. It doesn't add that mid like clankiness that the SD1 and the TS9 offer, but it also has shaping controls that you can kind of fine tune the signal. I'll put a link to this drive down below of this video as well if you guys haven't checked it out already, but perfect candidate for this pedal. Let's see how it sounds with the drive kicked in. That's insane. I am using this pedal coming up soon for something in drop C because this sounds ridiculous. That was super punchy, super saturated. I'm having a lot of fun right now, dude. Actually, it's time for the baritone, which I have a feeling is going to be a lot of fun on this pedal. All right, guys, Balaguer Espada baritone select here. Again, going straight into the pedal. We have it dialed in, as you guys see on the screen. This is nice. Dude, that is insane because one thing that I always struggle with the really low tune guitars is the low end. I like a punchy, I like a big low end, but with the baritone stuff, you have to be really, really careful about those low frequencies because they will get tubby, they will get out of control. And sometimes when you want enough low end where the guitar doesn't sound anemic, but you also want enough brightness and clarity, you can't usually get a lot of that out of the same preamp. But in this case, you can get all of that out of here. Again, no overdrive. This thing is... Dude, this thing is awesome, especially when it comes to the lower tune stuff. I'm really loving the clarity, loving the 5150 feel, but with a little bit more tightness and punchiness right out of the box. This pedal is a winner in my opinion. So let's try it into a solid state power amp and then into the interface directly. All right, guys, so we are now plugged into the Lichtschlerm Pandora power amp. This is a little 60-watt monster. I'll link to this baby down below as well. A really cool, affordable pedal size power amp that has a presence and depth control on it. We have the 51 Filthy dialed in, as you guys see here, still going through the Mesa cabinet with the V7 on it, and it sounds like this. So it reacts really, really well with the Pandora. It keeps its 5150 kind of voicing and style alive. Power amps have a massive effect on whatever preamp that you put into them. They have their own voicing, their own feel and sound, and even plugging directly into the Pandora here, which is a completely different style power amp than the 6505 Plus, I felt like the voicing of the 51 Filthy came through extremely, extremely well. And honestly, with the way that it behaved with these two power amps, I feel like you're going to be able to combine this with a whole bunch of different power amps and be able to get the goods out of it. So that's nice. Last but not least, let's plug it into the interface. All right, guys, so we are plugged into the interface now. The impulse response that I'm using is the Get Good Drums Cali Oversized. It's the massive cab with the SM57 on it, the very first cab that comes up when you open up the program. I've always felt like this cab was slightly on the dark side, and sometimes I struggle getting the tones out of a direct like preamp pedal, going straight into it without having to really crank the treble and stuff. With this thing, man, it is doing it no problem. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for me today on the Aris Effects 51 Filthy pedal. I think this thing is an absolute home run. I am really incredibly impressed with this thing, and I'll be using this for a long time to come because this thing sounds really, really good. Nails that 5150 sound, couple tweaks, couple quality of life improvements, no boost required, extremely punchy low end. Huge fan, dude. This thing is incredible, but I want to hear from you guys. What did you think about the tones I was able to get out of it? If you are one of the people who got in on the first run of these pedals before they sold out, how have you been liking it? What have your thoughts been? And if you're not one of those people, but you do want to pick it up, let me know down below in the comments. I'm curious to see how many of you guys are sold on this thing. If you do want to buy it, of course, like I said, I'll link below. At the time of filming, this is priced at 209 Canadian dollars, which is 146 Freedom dollars. So incredibly fairly priced from a custom boutique builder. It's very light on the extra features, but it is very heavy
On the tone. I'm gonna start doing all my videos in this voice from now on.
So yeah, drop those comments below. I'll meet you guys down there to chat about it. If you liked the video, hit the like button on the way out. If you would like to subscribe to the channel, I'm not gonna stop you. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time. Bye.
You know what this wall is missing? Another amp. There we go.